Hello, my name is Samuel Gutierrez, and this is my final presentation. I will present three artists and their work. I will start with the historical murals of Diego Rivera. Next, we'll look at the Catalan style architecture of Antoni Gaudi. And we will finish the presentation with the joyful dancing and singing of Celia Cruz. Diego Rivera was born in Guanajuato, Mexico, December 8, 1886. Diego Rivera died in Mexico City, November 24th, 1957. Diego Rivera had the opportunity to be part of the following movements: modern art, social realism, cubism, and more. Diego Rivera was antisocial and was a member of the Mexican Communist Party. The Mexican government gave funding to Rivera to create a series of murals about the Mexican people, which showed the world the reality of the Mexican campesinos and their rich culture. The Flower Carrier by Diego Rivera was made in 1935, which is currently in the Museum of Modern Art, which is in San Francisco. This oil painting is supposed to represent the capitalist society, but also the truth of the working class in Mexico. We can clearly see a campesino who is having trouble carrying the basket of flowers. This is a great form of symbolism, the basket being the capitalist society, and Diego Rivera intends to idolize a hardworking campesino who is working hard to earn a future for himself and his family. The brightly colored flowers are supposed to represent the elite class, being carried by the working class, which is represented as the man on the floor. We can see that Rivera would always represent the misfortune of his people through his art. Agrarian leader Zapata. Diego Rivera paints Emiliano Zapata and the Campesinos. This painting showed a lot of significance of what was occurring in Mexico at the time. The painting was made in Cuernavaca, Mexico, 1931. Zapata lived from 1879 to 1919 and is still one of Mexico's most beloved military leaders because he has always fought for the rights of his own people, the campesinos. The leaders of the Mexican people were fighting for a brighter future for those who worked the land. At the moment, the rich controlled most of the land in Mexico, so they charged taxes and never took the campesinos' lifestyle into consideration. So they fought for land reform. This connects with me because I come from a long extension of campesinos, and I'm always grateful for the sacrifices he made for my ancestors. This painting reflects the effort for the fight of agrarian reform. This painting was made for an exhibition at the Museum of Modern Art in 1931, which is a fresco he painted in 1930. He painted this painting in the Palace of Cortes, Cuernavaca. Even though Diego Rivera was in Paris painting during the Mexican Revolution, his work had a great impact in his home country. Most of the country couldn't read because they didn't have access to education. Instead, they needed a painting or drawing to understand the world around them, and I believe this is an amazing way his art was used all throughout Mexico. Antoni Gaudi. Antoni Gaudi was born in Reus, Spain in 1852, June 25th. Antoni died 1926, June 10th in Barcelona, Spain. Antoni Gaudi was a Spanish architect which is considered the greatest artist of Catalan modernism. Most of his work is located in Barcelona and it's considered one of a kind style, like the infamous church of La Sagrada Familia. Antoni Gaudi is known as the head of Catalan architecture. His art was inspired by natural designs and also modernism. Parc Güell is a park which is influenced by the forces of nature and architecture and was built in the Barcelona modernist style. Antoni Gaudí was a Spanish architect who was the planner and construction director of Park Güell from 1900 to 1914. The original use of the park was intended for residential use for 60 single-family residences. The park was never fully completed and became the property of the government. The government made his amazing work into a public park, which would surprise the public with the beauty of his architectural work. The park has verdant gardens, unique architectural designs, and it was constructed on the hillside of Carmel. The view is set to look into the sea. The park was declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1984. The use of mosaic tiles from the dragon that welcomes you into the park to the gardens. The park reflects the naturalistic scene theme of his personal style. Gaudi and Güell constructed elements of both political and religious ideals. Catalan politics and religion were two things they were inspired by. Catalan modernism developed between 1888 and 1911. This artistic current occurred during the construction of Park Güell. Gaudi's parks are very colorful, which informs us he searched as much as possible the outbreak of the floral style. Gaudi uses decorative cast iron railings, wood carvings, and asymmetrical features all around the park. During my years in Highland, our teacher would inform us about the Spanish culture. Park Güell was one of the things we studied due to its significance and beauty. I was always amazed by Gaudi's impressive skill and attention to small detail. Celia Cruz was born October 21st, 1925, in Havana, Cuba. Celia Cruz died in Fort Lee, July 16, 2003. Celia Cruz was nationally recognized as a singer for Orchestra Sonora Matancera. She eventually became a member of the United States of America due to the ascent of Fidel Castro. She had the opportunity to create 23 gold records: Petito Puente, Fania All Stars, and Sonora Matancera. Known as the Queen of Salsa and her powerful voice and her enigmatic style, she was a Cuban leader and became an icon for those who lived in exile and those suffering within. Celia Cruz always showed strong family ties, joyful living, and a great work ethic. I noticed that I've seen these traits in other Hispanic artists and also the Hispanic community. Lots of communities in Latin America don't live in the best society and economy, so they need to be able to obtain the most they can from their life. I always remember my parents telling me that a successful life is full of hard work, joy, and family ties, family being the most important. Celia Cruz is an inspiration for many around the world because she was able to succeed even with all the challenges she had to overcome. One of her most famous songs is Azúcar Negra. This song represents the African and Cuban culture and artistic characteristics in her song. In this song, Celia Cruz shows her respect for her culture by implying that she has love and music in her blood. She also mentions that she is joyful like a drum. This instrument shows the implication of the different culture. The African drums are very important to Latin American music because they contain the rhythm of the song and also the dancer. They also represent two different cultures mixed into one to create a rich style of Cuban salsa. Celia Cruz always shouts "azúcar" in her songs, and that's because it's a battle cry of the African slaves that worked in the sugar plantations. I was really surprised by this because it's so simple, but the meaning behind it is so important and reminds us of what our ancestors had to live through. Thank you. That is it for my presentation, and I hope that you guys learned the significance of these three great artists.